What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Havoc Sports Podcast, episode number 40.
Big faux O. Big faux O.
Yes, sir. Today, we are going to be talking about NFL potential draft steals.
Yeah, I think the whole purpose of this episode is just to kind of highlight people who maybe showed out in the Senior Bowl or maybe showed out in their show out day or their pro day, I guess is what they call it. A couple of these guys, most of these guys are going to be day 2, maybe day 3 picks. Some of them could be a high tier second round pick, but some of them could be a low tier third round pick. But they've shown some stats, they've shown some really good abilities, so we were like, yeah, we should put these guys on the podcast. So we got 6 total people. We're going to rotate. Colton's got 3, I got 3. So we both try to find some different people to try to get some 6 different names on here. But yeah, let's start it out with Colton's first guy.
Yeah, the guy I put on first could be the biggest bust. We talked about, like you said, mid-round talent and where can you find that value and what is the most valuable position in the NFL? Quarterback. So with my first choice at a potential steal, I went with Jalen Milroe. I think this is someone that you could see as high as the second round, probably for me in that 3 to 4. I would say most likely 3. When you look at a season, it wasn't anything special to talk about. Right?
No, the Alabama really had a down year, to be honest.
Yeah, but the flashes is what I base this pick off. This is going to be a high risk, high reward, right? This is something that, will it pay out? Most likely not. But if it does, and if you develop him in the right system, this is a quarterback that could be around for a very, very, very long time. The athleticism's there. We've seen flashes of the throws.
Yeah, he's kind of got that athleticism as Lamar Jackson. He's really like a run-first quarterback, but it's the same thing with Lamar. You give him 2 or 3 seasons with a Joe Flacco or someone as a veteran as their starting quarterback, like Russell Wilson or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, you give someone like that, this guy learns how to throw the ball. He could be astronomically great.
And that's where I think his game struggles the most is that accuracy.
He can't throw the ball.
Yeah, 16 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. Like, it's not pretty. You look at the stats, they're not going to jump off the paper for you. But it's the potential that we're looking at. If you sit him for a year, 2 years, let this guy develop, let him practice, let him get a feel for it, and then send him out, there is a chance that this could be a very good future quarterback.
Yeah, 100%. And I think he's kind of like a Justin Fields without the arm. And Justin Fields doesn't even really have an arm. I think personally, Jalen Milroe, my opinion is he's going to be a bust. I think I'd see him being a 4th, 5th round pick. I got Quinn Ewers over him. I got a couple other guys over him. But he could be someone that could come in as a 2nd round or 3rd round when quarterbacks get hurt and shine, just like Joe Milton did.
Yeah.
So moving on to one of my guys, I'm kind of more of an interior guy. I look towards the offensive line, defensive line aspect of the game. My first guy is C.J. West from Indiana University. I've seen this guy play a couple times. We have a couple IU fans, just so I tune into the IU games a little bit. This guy's an animal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's kind of got that vibe of he's going to eat your A gap, and he's going to sit in that A gap. Or if you're passing the ball, you better pass the ball in 3 seconds, or he's going to eat you up. You know what I mean? So with a little bit of time, he could find himself in a rotation with his size. He had 25 quarterback pressures and 2.5 sacks. So, he didn't really have a lot of sacks, but with his size, you don't expect, him to get to the quarterback too often. But having 25 quarterback pressures, just his ability and his athleticism at his size, he had a really good pro day, had a really good combine. I could see him being, a low 3rd round pick, maybe even a high tier 3rd round pick to a guy or to a team that needs a defensive tackle. But C.J. West is definitely a guy that I could see playing a key and like maybe a inside run package for a team a couple years, or maybe in his rookie year a couple plays. Maybe I see 100 plays in the first season.
Yeah, and CJ West, like you said, he's a defensive tackle. You're not going to see an outstanding number of sacks from a defensive tackle, exception of a freak like Aaron Donald. It's just not something that's very common. A lot of D tackles you see are constantly being rotated in, depending on their package. And, like you said, this could definitely be someone that can play a good role on the run scheme of things.
Exactly,
Um, and you're just looking for plug and plays at defensive tackle.
and
You're not
even
having them stay in the whole time.
at a late third round, early fourth round pick, you could see a punt block team, plays.
Yeah.
With his size, his athleticism, his ability to maybe jump off the ball and get his hand up. Field goal blocks, you know what I mean? So just finding a role to play the game. I think CJ West is definitely going to find the ability to play the game in the professional talent way. But moving on to your second round or your second pick.
Yeah, and I started to do my research on this guy, and holy crap. This might be the steal. I went with Kyle Williams, wide receiver from Washington State. Last season alone, he had 70 receptions for almost 1,200 yards and 14 touchdowns. This is a guy that played with Cam Ward. And when the quarterback play went away and became more mediocre, this guy continued to shine. A lot of the times when you see that talented quarterback go away from the team, you see the receivers take a pretty big dip in production, and the receivers you want on your team are the ones that can continue to show that production through and through. The one thing I noticed with them being Washington State, not a lot of top team play. They did play one ranked team and they did lose. So at on one side you didn't get to play much top talent to get yourself noticed, but because of the lack of good teams you're playing, you don't get that spotlight. This is definitely a player that I think could be used in very specific teams. You need like a wide receiver too, maybe a slot. I would definitely lean more towards slot, but this guy could be a really, really good piece and
Yeah,
a really good role
100%.
for a team.
And the thing is like you said, he played with Cam Ward. Cam Ward, he's probably going to be the number one pick this year.
Yeah.
He still put up numbers on a lower level D1 school, but at the same time, I feel like now he's gotten that role of, if they put him at a starting wide receiver 3 in the slot, he's going to be able to get catches because
Yeah.
he's played at Washington State and got a lot of catches before.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So Kyle Williams is definitely one of those guys who's going to be quick off the ball, and like you said, you did your research on him, and I'm pretty sure you called Zay Flowers that one time.
Yeah.
So
I called Zay Flowers before he was even considered first round talent.
Yeah, so I will trust you on Kyle Williams here. So we'll see where he goes. We'll follow him up. Maybe in the next year, we'll talk about our recap on episode 40. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
So we're moving on to my second steal of the draft. This guy could be a second round pick. Could fall to the third. Xavier Watts from Notre Dame. I'm a Notre Dame fan. I don't watch. I don't. Pay attention to the players all the time, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I've seen this guy play. Has a little bit of injury problems with his ankles. He is an athlete. He is safety. He runs around the field all the time. But this guy, when he plays, he's a true ball hawk. He kind of gives me the Jamal Adams vibes. Kind of like, he's gonna, when the ball's up in the air, you're gonna find him there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
He had 6 interceptions last year. 53 solo tackles, so his ability to stop the run support is there. So, I think he could find himself a starting role if someone, because we've seen second round, third round safeties play, third game into the season. I think Brian Branch went in the second round.
Yeah,
Started
man,
the first game.
Patriot.
Yeah, started the first game. So, I can see this guy taking on that role. I really wish the Bears would get him because we got Kevin Byard and Jaquan Brisker, who both are nasty, but they can't stay healthy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So,
They're getting old.
having Xavier Watts would be nice, but any team that gets him, I really think that he could find a starting role with him.
Yeah, and like you said, it's so important for whether it be corner, whether it be safety. It's so important to have that ball hawking type of skill because it's something that honestly not a lot of them have, that natural feel for where the ball is at all times. It's very rare, and honestly, the corners that I can think would be maybe like Sauce Gardner, Jalen Ramsey, Stephon Gilmore, and his Defensive Player of the Year. It just seemed like whenever the ball was in the air, whether they were looking at it or not, they had that feel for where it was
Right.
at all times.
Yeah.
And you're seeing the potential for that from him. So, like you said, honestly, safety's not too high on a lot of teams'
Right.
list. So, yeah, he probably will go mid-second.
Maybe late or maybe early third.
Yeah, but it's such value still in that position just because you can get it so late.
Right, and
So-
you can. I mean, having safety, it's just like kind of
Yeah.
having a running back. You know, we had Eddie Jackson for 2 or 3 years. He had 2 bad years. We had 1 bad year, and we got rid of him. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So, safeties are kind of those contracts where you can just kind of dump them and hopefully have someone to replace them. And having someone like Xavier Watts sit him back a year with someone with a veteran safety or someone with a decent safety, and all of a sudden your safety test free agency, you got Xavier Watts to back him up. That's nasty. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So he kind of gives me the Honey Badger vibes. His ability to kind of spot the ball back when he was on the Chiefs. But Saints Honey Badgers, I don't even know if he's even good. I don't
Yeah.
even know what he's doing over there. But moving on to your third pick,
Yeah, I mean, we
kind of the same position.
Yeah, we both understand that, again, safety's just not a position that really you see a first-round draw. Now, I'm sure when we do our last mock draft before the draft, we will have Malachi Starks in the first round.
And probably Nick and Monterado or whoever that
But-
is.
Yeah, but it's very rare that you see safeties go in that first-round draft. So you can get a lot of value from them later on. And I went with Keaton Crawford from Nevada. A little undersized. A lot of times you want your safeties to maybe be a little bit taller, so he can play in that slot area or safety, which is where he's most
I
comfortable.
mean, we've
But
seen a lot of safeties go
Yeah.
to corner.
yeah, you can play him at slot. This
Look at
is
Kenny Moore.
Yeah.
Kenny Moore. You know what I
this
mean?
is an example of what the combine can do for a player, right? This guy, I'm not sure that anyone outside of Nevada fans really knew who Keaton Crawford was, but this guy blew out the combine and caused a lot of people to go back and watch film over this guy. And this guy's a great defender. The stats, if you will, don't necessarily stand out like crazy. 42 solos, forced fumble, 2 interceptions, 6 pass deflections. This is a guy that can play really well. He can definitely size up against the slot, and he's going to be able to show great success, I think, in the league. He might not get a start in year 1. I think this is definitely a guy that could go 3 later, but the value and the flashes are there in the right system with the right coaching staff. This could be a monster.
But then again, he could play the gunner at
Yeah.
punt return. You know what I mean? So it's like
There's always
these
value.
guys, these guys at 4th-round picks, they might not be starting cornerbacks, but a year or 2 down the road, they're going to be there. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? They're going to be cornerback 3, cornerback 4, so or safety 1, safety 2. So Keaton Crawford, he's definitely someone to watch out for. His division, it's kind of bare minimum
Kinda
playing at
dinky.
Nevada, but we'll see where he lands.
Yeah.
Crawford, I haven't really heard of him too much, but one name to watch out for. My last one, I can't wait to mispronounce this one.
Yeah.
But it's Femi Aladejo from UCLA. He's a linebacker / edge, and this guy, he's kind of just one of those projects you got. He's
Yeah.
just a massive build at 6'3", 259 pounds. He's a linebacker who's shown some decent zone coverage, some decent pass coverage, but his ability to get off offensive linemen is,
Yeah.
3rd round, 4th round ability. You know what I mean? So finding a good linebacker coach, finding a good defensive coach that could put him maybe at edge, and then maybe find an ability he's good at to attack the offensive tackle shoulder, something beyond those lines. But this guy just has the ability to get to the quarterback. We saw him at the Senior Bowl. Everybody was like, man, who's this guy from UCLA? He had the ability to get to the quarterback because he's so fast and he's so big.
Yeah.
If he could put those two together, make some pass rush moves, he could be a decent linebacker in the NFL. But like I said, got to have a good linebacker coach. You got to take the chance on him. I could see him probably going 4th round with all the talent,
Yeah.
and all the needs. you don't really want a project right now. You want someone that's proven to be a talent.
Yeah, and see, he reminds me a ton of Chop Robinson.
Yeah.
Just pure athletic skill and doesn't necessarily have the fundamentals down. The only bad part for him is he's in a draft class where the strong suit is by far none edge D-line.
Yeah.
Like, when Chop Robinson's draft was there, the talent was almost everywhere but edge. There was a couple edges that were notable, but this draft class is like, I mean, probably like 10 of your top 15 players are dang near edge D-line.
Right.
So that hurts him.
Yep. And I think with him is, like I said, he doesn't have quite the ability to get off a center or a guard. They have to work with him on bull rushing or, finding an ability or pass rush move to get him to the quarterback at the NFL level, because they're not going to be potatoes every time.
Yeah.
But, like I said, he could find his role in a heavy run package, or find his role in maybe like a heavy third down if he keeps his zone coverage up, maybe focuses on his own coverage. But Femi, definitely a guy to watch out for in the 4th round, 3rd round. If you see his name up there, I'd be happy to get him for sure.
Yeah.
But I want to mention South Carolina's linebacker. I think his last name was Quick. I think he's projected like the 2nd or 3rd middle linebacker. He was one of my honorable mentions. Nasty. But I think Femi is more of a project, and I think he could, with his size, be better. And with Quick's ability to be, a senior. It's not going to help him. His knees are pretty bad on him. But this guy is definitely a demon, so look out for that linebacker. I think his last name is Quick, but don't quote me on that. But that is episode 40 for you. I think that's we could have went on for steals for days. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We love doing a little bit of scouting on the drafts and 3rd or 4th round picks, because that's where most of your talent comes from.
That's where your true draft is.
Because
that's how you know how you did in a draft.
Right. And those are the guys that want to play. And they got to prove themselves to be on that roster. But we appreciate all the support. It's going to be a big next week for us, because I think we're going to be releasing our final mock draft.
Yep, because the draft will be on the next Thursday. So mock draft comes out next Saturday to you guys. That following Thursday will be the NFL draft. So it's going to be a busy couple weeks. We're going to hit you with the Havoc 3.0. It's going to be a full mock draft. The mocks do really well, and we really appreciate all the support we get on them, because it does take time and research. We don't just go on and steal someone's draft. We take our time, we do our research, we look at team needs. So we're going to have the mock 3. Probably, I'm going to put trades in there. And then following that, we're going to be giving our reactions, possible grades to the draft. Just a lot of exciting stuff. April's such a fun year.
Yeah, for sure. And you got
so much fun.
Shout out to Florida for winning the March Madness tournament.
Shout out to Florida.
So, but yeah, that's episode 40. We appreciate it, guys. We hope you enjoyed the episode, and we'll see you guys next week.
See ya.